Hello everyone, Daniel Yuck here. Thank you all for tuning in today. I appreciate you. I want to make a video and share with you all how deep my needle goes when tattooing. But not only that, I want to make a video sharing with you all how we can go about getting more familiar with appropriate needle depth when it comes to tattooing. Should you have any questions at any point throughout this video, I'm going to encourage you to drop a comment down below. I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. If you find this video helpful, consider becoming a patron or sending over a super thanks my way, as I would truly appreciate your support. With that being said, let's dive straight on into this. One thing that really helped me understand how deep I should be going with the needles is understanding how they actually work. For this demonstration, I'm going to be demonstrating with an Emalla 14 round shader if I remember correctly. As you can see, what I'm going to do is just use the very tip of the round shader to see what type of indentation the needle makes. And I'm not using any pressure, I'm not doing anything, I'm not leaving it over for an excessive amount of time. I'm just simply using a little bit of pressure to see what the results are. Taking a close-up look here, I do count 9 needle points. Let me know in the comment section down below how many you count. According to these points, to my understanding, I am using a 9-round shader for this demonstration right here. I can't remember, but it does look as though I am using 9 points. And what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to repeat this process. And what I'm doing is I'm getting more familiar with how deep I need to go for the ink to actually start sticking into the skin. That's all I'm kind of focused on right now. I need to be able to break the skin open. How much force do I need to exert? And that's essentially what I'm paying attention to. As we get more information, we can kind of go ahead and adjust accordingly there. But for now, what I'm paying attention to is how deep I need to go. So that is the results from pressing down lightly. What I want to do is I want to press down a little bit more harder, and I want to keep the needle there a little bit longer, and I want to see the results of this. What I'm beginning to notice is the deeper that I press, the more that the ink is going to stay, and the longer that I let the needle sit, the more saturated it becomes. So this is a good exercise to get a piece of fake skin and then just simply practice. Get a little bit of ink, and then you want to be able to see your needle tip. So just get up a little bit, and then you want to just kind of repeat this over and over. And especially if you're just starting out, I feel this is a great exercise. So that way you get familiar with the way that the needle behaves. What I'm learning, and one thing that I'm understanding, is that the needle, as soon as we put it down, it's not necessarily inputting ink. The needle needs to catch, and it takes a little bit of time to begin to deposit the ink correctly in a nice, clean, saturated manner. The more that we practice this exercise, the more acquainted we'll be with how deep we should be going. As you can see right here on this snippet, I'm slowing it down dramatically, and you can see that the needle imprint is being embedded into the fake skin. And then once that starts happening, I begin to drag the needle from point A to B, essentially. I know drag may be a harsh term, but that's essentially what I am doing when I'm pulling or pushing a line. It really doesn't matter. I'm just simply breaking the epidermis of the skin. I'm getting into the dermis, and I'm just moving at a nice, comfortable hand speed and voltage to match that together to get nice, clean, saturated lines. On a side note, ink flow when we're pulling lines or tattooing in general is important. It is a crucial element to clean, saturated work. However, for this demonstration, I'm trying to use the least amount of ink that I can so we can really see that needle tip working. You can see that I'm moving in the opposite direction, but I'm still giving that needle tip time to do its job. Now, I don't really want to get into voltage and tell you what voltage you should be using. For this, I think I'm demonstrating at around 7.5 volts. This is actually going to vary from artist to artist and setup to setup, which is why I really don't touch base on the hand speed and voltage, more so touching base on how to find the correct depth. For demonstration purposes, I am going to be demonstrating with inadequate ink flow, but whenever you're practicing lines and you want to get clean, consistent work, make sure that you have more than enough ink to go ahead and get you from point A to B, so that way all of your lines come out clean and consistent as you can possibly get them. When tattooing for you, make sure we have adequate ink flow. For this demonstration, I want to demonstrate inadequate ink flow. I want to demonstrate the hand speed and voltage, as well as inadequate needle depth. So with a combination of all of those variables, and when all of these are unaligned, these are the results. We have very inconsistent lines. We have lines that already look faded, and these are actually going to fade even more over time. So this is not what we want. I'm not allowing the needle to actually do its job. As you can see, I'm moving a little too quickly, and I was pressing down a little too lightly. When I start to slow things down and I go into a little bit deeper, you can see that I'm getting more clean, consistent results. When we're learning how deep to go, we have to give the needle enough time to be able to do its job. The needle has to penetrate through layers of skin and deposit ink. We can't just assume that it's going to cut through like a knife and deposit it quicker than we can move. We have to figure this out, and a great way to do that would be to invest into fake skin. You can see now that I'm starting to align my hand speed and voltage along with how deep I should be going, I'm starting to get more cleaner, consistent results. Throughout this video, you're going to hear me use that term a lot, because at the end of the day, the results is what matters when it comes to tattooing. We have very little room for error. So again, going back to fake skin and learning and getting familiar with these fundamentals, I feel is crucial to the quality of our work. Clearly, I'm moving way too quickly. I may be going deep enough, however, I'm not giving the needle enough time to do its thing, so therefore I'm going to get faded looking lines like this. So right here, I'm also demonstrating poor technique and poor application. I'm moving really fast, although I may be not going deep enough. If I were to slow it down, the lines would have been a little bit more consistent and been more pronounced than they are showing up right now, just by simply even slowing down my hand speed. The needle would have had more time to work in that area, therefore depositing more ink in that area, making it more saturated. For this demonstration, you see me, I'm slowing it down quite a bit, and I'm just simply moving from point A to B to see what results I get. I'm not going for perfection. All I'm going for and paying attention to is the behavior. And when I say behavior, I'm paying attention to the behavior of the needle tip. How long do I need to leave the needle tip on the skin for the ink to start depositing? And how deep do I need to go for the ink to catch? We could even be at a healthy needle depth, but if we move too fast, you can see that we're still not going to get clean, consistent work. The results are going to look similar to this. And if our work is looking like this, then we're probably dealing with the misunderstanding of how the needle is actually working. We have to give the needle time to catch, and we have to know how long it's going to take to catch for our specific setup for the needles that we are using. This is something that we necessarily can't teach, but more so develop into. Become comfortable with hand speed and voltage, which I actually have multiple videos on my YouTube channel. You can check those out. And then after that, I would recommend practicing these exercises and messing around with needle depth and figuring out how the needle behaves and how long it takes for different configurations to start catching to the skin before the ink starts actually being deposited, so that way we can start aligning all of these basic fundamentals. I feel that understanding these basics help me achieve better and cleaner work. Now, to each their own. If you're not understanding something or if things don't quite make sense, I encourage you to drop a comment down below and I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. I want to switch on over to a different angle, and I want to share with you all the behavior of the needle and what I am looking for. You can see right here in this snippet that I've slowed down dramatically, that I'm actually waiting for the needle tip to begin doing its job. And as it does that, as I see the needle tip depositing ink, I'm feeling the needle tip depositing that ink. Therefore, I naturally start moving in a manner that's consistent for this specific needle grouping. This is going to vary from needle grouping to needle grouping. However, the idea of finding out how deep to go would still apply to any needle that I've ever used. So I don't really change these fundamentals from a round liner to a round shader. It's all pretty much the same. The only thing that really does change is hand pressure, hand speed, voltage, etc. You kind of get the idea behind that. This exercise is essentially just poking at fake skin, and I highly encourage you to practice doing this exercise with multiple size needles on your end. Don't just do it with round shaders. Get familiar with any needle size that you have on your end, so that way you can really become acquainted with different pressures and the way that different needle groupings behave. I can't exhaust enough that the more that we do this, the more familiar we are going to get with how deep we should be going when tattooing. You can see that I'm looking for that needle imprint, and then I'm giving the time that needle needs to do its job to input the ink correctly, because I'm looking for a certain look. I need the lines that I'm pulling to be nice, clean, consistent, and saturated. I don't want inconsistent lines because of the style of tattooing that I do, which specifically be line work, mandalas, micro tattoos. You kind of get the idea behind that. So I really rely on clean, consistent lines. Before I conclude the video here, I want to share with you some exercises that we can use to go about getting more familiar with how deep we should be going. You can see I'm using right and left, or just basically left to right tallies right here to get familiar with the needle behavior. You can essentially do this in any direction you want, whether it's left to right, up or down, sideways. It doesn't really matter. As long as we are pulling lines in any direction and pushing lines, getting more familiar with the behavior and figuring out how deep we should be going is going to start coming naturally to us with the more of these little exercises that we do. Another great exercise I would recommend is to simply try to get a needle and practice different needle depths. Press harder on some, press softer on others, and pay attention to the results that you're getting. One thing that this can really help you with is learning how deep is too deep, so that way naturally we start gravitating towards staying away from naturally pressing down too hard. So get acquainted, and I would just recommend doing this over and over and over. Try to do this as much as you can to really build that familiarity with how deep you should be going when it comes to needle depth. I do feel like these practices have helped me tremendously understanding needle depth. Not only that, understanding how to get clean, consistent results. In order to get clean, nice, saturated work, we have to understand what is happening under the needle. I do feel like these exercises are great to help you in that direction, especially if you're trying to understand needle depth and how deep you should be going when it comes to tattooing. I do also hope that this video is able to help you in a better direction in some way, shape, or form. I can't encourage you enough. If you have any questions, drop them down below and I will do my absolute best best to assist you in the best possible direction. If you found this video helpful and enjoy my YouTube channel, consider becoming a Patreon or sending over a super thanks my way, as I would truly appreciate your support. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for me and ring that bell, as I'm going to be bringing more videos like this for you all. I also have social medias under the same name as this YouTube channel. I would truly appreciate the support on social medias. Thank you for tuning in. You have a great day.